Islam cheat the money back for that. Islam. It is July the, I think it's the 12th. Is it? I think it's the 12th, 2023. And I'm sunbathing. I'm outside of formerly Extended Stay America. If you can look here. I'm outside of formerly Extended Stay America. Now Admiral Suites. Hearing a lot of feedback saying brother. A lot of times in the room when I hear feedback or someone saying brother around, pale-skinned males start walking around. But definitely the accent is an African-American black Negro male, and then Spanish-speaking accents. So as I sunbathe and I'm about to deep breathe, I want to speak about how, and there's the police, which I don't want to be here in a few years with the Annapolis police drive being so prevalent. I definitely don't want to be in Annapolis in a few years. So anyway, what I would want to say is, especially with the United States military, Navy, that could be unnaturalized, and the police, I say unnaturalized police, prevalent, possibly, in Annapolis. Definitely don't want to be here in a few years. So I just got through tweeting about this pale-skinned male was speaking about how they're destroying the dollar bill, and I was connecting spirituality with that. I have been for a while, not connecting the destruction of the dollar bill, no. But I have been connecting spirituality with the spiritual plane and the physical plane. And because the pale-skinned male was speaking on a physical level, on the physical plane. And one of the things I want to say is that when you, in reference to thoughts, I think that is one of the main subjects that I'm thankful that I'm able to speak about. Because when you're dealing with thoughts, you're dealing with energy, and therefore you're dealing with spirit. So knowing that we're among unclean spirits that can use different forms of science to possibly cause a mental blockage, plot thoughts, let's see, a mental blockage, plot thoughts, sort of keep your thoughts like this and your reality not reality of what you're experiencing, and then being among AI robots that are able to do such things. So while you're sleeping, for example, for years I've been giving testimony or speaking about my dreams being invaded. They still being invaded, just not in a sexual manner. I mean, like so many times I've seen and I'm not accusing Burger King, but Burger King workers that I work with in my dreams, and it's maybe because I'm working there, but or seeing other citizens that I've seen in Annapolis in my dreams. The sexual dreams have definitely decreased quite a bit, but definitely my dreams are still being invaded. And it's interesting because when I wake up, I'm still hearing someone sometimes opening and closing the door across the hall. A lot of times a black, Negro, or African American male across the hall, or others across the hall. I've been giving testimony about someone opening and closing the door for a long time in an odd sequence across the hall for years. I know it has to be years now. So when you are trying to, I'm not accusing them, but I just find it, I'm just giving you a sequence of events, just like I'm not accusing Burger King or those that I've seen in my dreams when I'm sleeping. So when you're sleeping, that's your most vulnerable time. Okay, you're resting your mind, your thoughts. So a person like the United States, or a group that's like the United States Navy, Army, other military branches, the police, who have been trained on how to control thoughts, which then control your behavior, can definitely use that as a war tactic against citizens instead of being that which you would think they're supposed to be, a protectorate. Now, if this has been going on for years and years and years, okay, upon masses of people, the transformation of thoughts, which then in time transform them in their behavior. And in some cases, with cloning, you might have a totally different being, a totally different person altogether. So if you have Mexicans, South Central Americans saying werewolf, and you have scientists admitting there's gene manipulation going on, and then you have scientists showing that they are able to grow lamb, sheep, cow, pigs, and so forth from in the lab. They can grow them. And then you have scientists saying possibly they definitely can grow humans or something that look like a human. And then you have the Mongoloids saying Birdman, or people saying Birdman. You have the black Negro, African American male saying brother, or female saying brother like an animal. And then your tablet starts to act up. So so what I'm trying to say, or the pale skin saying 3 and Mason, and then your tablet starts to act up. So what I'm trying to say is the thoughts of a beast, or that which is outside of natural law, and having them in a low frequency has been going on for a long time. So what would be the question would be, because those that many people say are masters and control and move the chess piece on a chessboard, they think ahead. They think way ahead. So the question would be, what were they planning for? I'm talking about the sadistic masters, okay? The sadistic masters that are involved in gene manipulation, involved in controlling the thoughts of the population. So if you have the population of masses of people who are normalizing violence, whether it's mental violence, spiritual violence, and then physical violence, then you have literally created a lifestyle of an energy field that is a low frequency that doesn't harmonize with Earth and the universe, because the Earth and the universe harmonize on a high frequency of natural and cosmic laws, right? And so when a situation happens that is even worse, so right now, well, let's go back. Okay, 10 years ago, let's go back to the 90s when they called it. I'm going to go back 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there was some issues going on. Yes, we had problems, but people were still working. The economic rate, people were still in a thought process. Because I was going to go back even further, but I'm not. They were in a thought of reality. I know I was, and a thought of a form of reality. Excuse me. So, and I didn't know and study thoughts, or even know that we are among the Mongoloid that speak Spanish, that say Birdman and werewolf, and that there's such things as a gene manipulation. If you would have told me that 10, 15 years ago, I would say 15 years ago, 12 years ago, I would be like, really? That's a little far out. Or black Negroes really not being something else. I mean, in these creations, or pale skins being something else, which I probably would have believed more of the pale skin before I believe something that's melanated, especially come in other parts of the world. So the reason why is because as that it too is a thought of the population of the melanated. It's like, always look at the pale skin to be what you consider non-human, or not being able to exemplify justice. But don't look at the melanated as much, especially at least in the area I was. And I'm not saying don't look at the pale skin, but so if you don't look at the black Negro or African American that looks like you, and saying that is definitely something else, and that something else has a unclean, unnatural spirit, male and female, or that which speaks Spanish, or that they could be from India or Pakistan, whatever. Nonetheless, but they have a very extreme unclean spirit, a demon, some type of demon created energy that was deliberately created. Why would you try to fortify and protect yourself? And not only that, why would you even think that's those unclean spirits? I should do this side, so that's the clean side. This is the dirty side. Think that they have any form of ability to attack your health, your genitals, attack your mind. Okay? Because the question would be, why would they be created? And why would they attack a healthy person's mind and genitals, or any part of their their internal organs? Why would they be used for such things? And then you turn back to the hospitals, the corrupt hospitals that are controlled, or pharmaceutical companies that are controlled by the banks that are corrupt. All right, that are corrupt, and that have been making lots of money. And then you have to ask yourself, and then if you, like me, in an area where the United States Navy, Army, and military branches are prevalent, the police, and you are thinking some of them must possibly unnaturalize, you see the connection with them, because a lot of them also have been worked in the hospital. You see a connection possibly with them and the hospitals and the pharmaceutical companies that are backed by corrupt banks. So I'm saying the corrupt hospitals and the corrupt pharmaceutical companies that are backed by corrupt banks. And you see the connection with the military. Not so much as you would think of them with guns, but think of them as an entity that is a spirit. These are not all of them are unclean and unnaturalized. I'm saying that are unnaturalized, that have been used to control the thoughts of the people, and not only that, but encourage unhealthy behavior, encourage health to not exist. But the question would be, why would they be doing such things? What has the masters that were unclean, wicked, or you want to say, or sadistic murderers, what were they planning for on this landmass upon masses of people? What were they planning for? So I was reading in 1971, President Nixon stopped backing the dollar bill with gold. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs about the situation, and I was born in 1973. So in 1971, 2 years approximately before I was born, or I came back to the earth, I want to say, President Nixon stopped backing the dollar bill with gold. Now, some of the resources I was reading stated that President Nixon, or the government, the United States government, start using oil to back the dollar bill. And this oil came from the Middle East, okay? So Americans, or what they call Americans, if they were probably, the word naturalized Americans was probably not even thought about, except for some wars, as much even then, because even then, the word, I definitely think the word Negro was being applied to many, or black, many so-called African Americans on this landmass, and definitely white. So that which was on this landmass, the ones that were predominantly inhabiting this landmass, which would have been the pale skin and those that are melanated that consider themselves African American or indigenous or Native Americans. So I'm going to just use these terms that are most commonly used. Were the ones on this landmass, and so the money that they were using, what I was reading, had no worth. The only way it really had worth was through investing in assets. But they did. But so you had some Americans, or it's not Americans, those on this landmass. I'm going to keep using words as much as possible. That knew about it, and they started investing in gold and silver and precious metals. Okay, gold, silver, and precious metals, and then that thought process sort of seemed to, according to some reasons, leave or not be as prevalent as much as before. So time is going by. There is the same tactics of thoughts exist in 1971, exist now, just on a different level. So a lot of, I guess you want to say, things happened since 1971 up until 2023. Many things happened in reference to the dollar bill, acts of terrorism, and so forth. Definitely when, I'm pretty sure when you thought, many thought of the military, the United States military, Navy and Army, they would think they are protectorates. I know for me, if I would say in the early 2000, 2001, 1990, if you said to me Navy, Army, whatever, physically, I'm thinking protection on a physical plane. I would definitely not think so much on a spiritual aspect of them that could be definitely some type of weapon being used, not only against those that supposedly the enemies of freedom, okay, the enemies of freedom, but the enemies of but in their thoughts, but used upon the citizens on this landmass. So if the dollar bill is not backed by any substance, but only backed by oil, which oil from the Middle East, a foreigner. So the foreigner is controlling, it is what's backing or the dollar bill. And also what I was reading, they kept saying that debt, the United States was indebted to these foreigners that control the oil. Now, what I find interesting is the fluctual, and I'm not, once again, as I speak Sheik Dwayne Battlefield Bay, I am definitely on a spiritual level. It is not about immigrants coming over here, taking our jobs, for me, or immigrants coming over here, and they the only ones being used to cause harm and so forth. This is definitely, to me, about spirituality, and I'm seeing more spiritually than I ever saw before this lifetime. So, what I remember just in my lifetime, I mean, to see, definitely there were pale skins owning gas stations, and there was probably even some, what you would say, melanated African Americans. Blacks, definitely they had more businesses in owning gas stations possibly, but definitely I saw pale skins owning gas stations. As time went on, that looked to be from India or Pakistan or Middle East. They were taking over the gas stations, and then those that looked to be from China and Korea were opening up stores. Predominantly, I saw this a lot in the African American community, opening up all different types of stores in the community. And then I remember hearing some pale skins say the stuff here is not even made here anymore. It's made in China, and China is and the United States is importing certain goods like plates. You think you're getting some type of sterling pearl plate from here that's created here on this landmass, but you're getting it from China. You're getting the silver from China. Anyway, I remember hearing pale skin say these things, and but I was too young to take it seriously, or what they were trying to say, because I was not thinking on that level. But I do remember pale skin speaking of such things, and I do remember seeing a flow. Let me say that, a flow of that which is Mexican, South Central Americans coming into different parts of the states that were predominantly, I would say, inhabited by those that look to be African American, black, or pale skin, and some what you would say Native Americans, which I'm just using different terms. And I saw them opening businesses. I saw the change of the agriculture, where I would see pale skin and blacks working in construction. So you driving along, or you in the car with your family, you're driving along, you see construction workers. I would see pale skins and blacks working on the road. Very few Mongoloid that looked to be from South Central America or Mexico. But then as time went on, that changed completely. And even agriculture, seeing people plant grass or cut grass, I saw pale skins and blacks doing these such things. Working on houses, pale skins and blacks. Building houses, pale skins and blacks. Very few Mongoloid. But then as time went on, now I see a predominantly Mongoloid that look to be from South Central America, cutting grass, agriculture, construction, building high-risers, and so forth. So what I'm getting at is, and then this is also going with, once again, also seeing hardly any of the gas stations being owned by pale skins, but predominantly owned by that look to be Mongoloid from the Middle East. Okay, so I'm getting back to what I was reading about the dollar bill not being backed by gold or anymore, and being backed by oil. So if you have masses of people who are outside of natural law, so you ask them who their forefathers are, they say I'm white, or they say I'm black. Not only that, and this has been going on for a long time, but not only that, but then there's gene manipulation, where the scientists are actually creating a whole new different being, where actually not knowing where they come from is definitely could be a thought of truth. So if you but having different strands of DNA of what they originally came from, some strands of the DNA, but mixed with other strands, like some type of animal, some type of insect, some type a robot, AI, whatever, then that too contributes to the tearing down of the structure on this landmass that was built for natural law, that has been created in natural law, that has always been natural law, always been. So what I'm getting at is, what were the sadistic masters planning for? Because now in 2023, robots, AI, males and females that have African American definitely are a part of this, some form of whatever, gene manipulation, definitely. That's why they keep saying brother, like an animal and beast, because we don't know what it is. Not all of them that say it, but too many. Because we don't know what it is, but they're being used to breed, because the more they breed, and whatever they're breeding, the lower the frequency. The more they're able to have the frequency lowered or keep the frequency low on planet Earth, okay? And the more this cycle of unclean, unnatural energy that's not supposed to exist will exist. And that goes with that which is Mongoloid, that which is pale skin, Mongoloid, South Central America, Pakistan, India. Maybe it's a Mongoloid from China, Japan, whatever. But what I'm getting at is, if you creating a species, and then now after you create the species, you plant a spirit of harm and destruction in that species. And that species have one thought process and program. The continuation of causing harm or normalizing harm outside of natural law, then you are going against, you have waged war. I'm going to keep it like this. You waged war against the universe that is in natural law. You waged war against which is natural, sacred, and cosmic. Now, if you create a species of blacks that are able to connect with thoughts, and they are in natural law, that means when you see one, you're not trying to protect yourself spiritually. You start saying prayers, Allah, 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 Allah. You know what I'm saying? That's different. But if you're making a species of blacks that are outside of natural law, but are able to engage in thoughts and use that science of thoughts or energy to engage, to rape, to send forth sharp pains, to attack your internal genitals, or the Mongoloid, not just them, but the Mongoloid and pale skin, you have that which created the unclean, unnatural species have waged war against that which is sacred, clean, and natural, in natural law, and cosmic, literally. So getting to today, so when we on a landmass, well, I remember years ago, I kept hearing people saying they're going to try to make the rich rich and the poor poor. And they're going to eliminate the middle class completely. So eliminating the middle class completely, I was thinking through education, skills, and other forms. But I was not thinking through thoughts. I was not thinking through a creation of breeding an unclean, unnatural species, a beast, being used, whether it's a robot, AI, to control a population. So that which is unclean can continue to feed off of them. Feed off of the energy. So when they want to sacrifice, when they want to do a sacrificial, a blood sacrifice, like many have said what happened with 9/11 in New York with the Twin Towers, many conspiracy theorists said that is exactly what was going on, along with money transactions. Okay? That was a huge blood sacrifice. So if you have masses of people in poverty, and not only that, but their thoughts are so low in reference to what is civilized. They have no idea how to behave in a civilized manner. So if they're not in poverty yet, and they're behaving unnaturalized, not natural, they behaving uncivilized. I mean, for example, in Annapolis, I had to call the police maybe 4 or 5 times, predominantly because of black males. Okay? In Annapolis, where you come here, you see a metropolitan area. For me, it definitely looked metropolitan. You got the police, you got the Navy, you got the Army, the other military branches. So if you're in an area where people are working, I definitely see many blacks, African American, well dressed. Some of them will walk by and say, he F-U-C-K-U. He F-U-C-K-U, male and female, predominantly females. Well dressed, driving nice cars. They look like they have a decent job, but yet they behaving uncivilized because they are in a thought process where they have created what they could a lifestyle of violence. Okay, when it doesn't have to be violence, but they're trying to normalize a lifestyle of violence. When they're working, making $60,000 a year. When they're working and they're making $70,000 a year, or whatever, they able to take a shower, they able to go buy food, they sitting down, they're eating out, they're drinking their alcohol, smoking their cigarettes, whatever they do, so they're able to live their life the way they want, but in a thought process of violence, because they are trying to implement a culture of violence. It's like, either if you don't want to amalgamate with us, we're going to force ourselves upon you, and we're going to do it in a way where if you try to fight back with constitutional laws, natural laws, we're going to figure out a way to sue you. We're going to figure out a way how to use the law and sue you, or try to deem you crazy or unstable mentally. This is the connection with the dreams. And for what, I'm not accusing Admiral Suites or Extended Stay, but definitely hearing people walk loud over our room, maybe the second floor, and also hearing them say military, police, brother paid, we paid. So this is now. Imagine in a few years if what they say is true about these countries, China, Russia, and other countries, choosing to back their dollar, their currency, with gold, with precious metals, and not doing any trade unless some very little trade with the United States. Imagine how the people who already been programmed for violence, they already been programmed for violence and thoughts. Imagine the chaos, the bloodshed. Not only that, so if you see that, then you have the police who are unnaturalized, the United States military who are unnaturalized, who seem to who behave odd, what some would say abusive or unlawful, but then they get a switch where they have to implement some form of martial law. So then you have a beast that's unnaturalized implementing some form of what they might say necessary control over the population, which they already know or have been deemed as through their behavior as animals, beasts, and not human. That's chaos, and that is truly on a spiritual level blood sacrifice. Because if you have the military that's unnaturalized, when they don't have to behave in a manner that some would say unlawful, harassing, sexual and sex trafficking rings. I'm not saying all that behave in a unlawful manner is in this, but I'm just saying this is a thought. And those same military people didn't get a switch turned on, a program, a signal to implement what they consider a necessary procedure of force upon a population of people who already been categorized as animals, beasts, non-human. And not only that, it's been if the commander-in-chief, which many have said is not naturalized, the president, is owned by foreign countries, or foreign or they do what they have to do what the foreign countries say, it is controlled, then you know the military is controlled too by foreign countries. So I'm getting at what was these unclean, unnatural, sadistic masters thinking years ago when they decided to remove the backing of gold from the currency of the dollar in 1971. And remembering 9/11 is not the only what they considered blood sacrifice that happened on this landmass. Also, Hurricane Katrina. So many people kept giving testimony in Louisiana about hearing that the levees were bombed. They kept saying the levees were bombed. And then they kept saying over and over and over again, the death rate of the people changed. Thousands and thousands. First it was like 2,000. No, well, first they said, no, it was high. First they said 10 to 15,000 were missing or killed or whatever. And I'm not saying it lightly. I'm just saying, then they brought it down. They brought it down. Then they brought it down. So what I'm getting at, Sheik Dwayne Baffle Bay, my Moorish American nation and family, is when you're dealing with those that are in rituals of shedding blood and blood sacrifice, okay, where they have normalized different forms of rituals, and then they say Mason and 3. And they got people programmed saying Mason and 3. That's on a small level. On a huge level, especially when you know we're among robots and AI, that you have people literally probably worshiping these AI and robots that can do different money transactions, help them with their credit, but require some form of sex or some form of agreement before they do. Now, imagine if this is implemented on this landmass, what will happen? What is seen to be building up to happen? Because people already behave in a violent manner with thoughts, and then which their thoughts you can see with their behavior. I mean, I record going back and forth to work many times in an area where the United States Navy, Army, and military and police are prevalent, and many people know. So you got cameras everywhere, but that does not stop them from or me from not having some type of proof or evidence of possibly a collaboration of the people in Annapolis, not all, deciding to harass the naturalized Moor because she's speaking about sex trafficking, because if allowed, would be sex traffic or a forced amalgamated in a unclean, unnatural sex ring. So this is now. So what is this energy building up for? So I found it interesting because I didn't know about the BRICS. When I put the tweet and posted it on my pin on Twitter, I had no idea. I put China, African American, United States, government or veteran, and I put Russia. I had no idea about countries coming together to back their currency with gold and silver. And nor did I did hear or learn about years ago about the dollar, and definitely hear through the years what dollar's not worth anything, but just not seeing, and I still don't know all the ins and outs, but not seeing the thread or the line, the sequence of events leading up till today. Especially when we are among gene manipulation, DNA manipulation, where you looking at something, even though it has a head, 2 arms, and a leg, you don't know what it is. You really don't. Not all. I'm just saying too many. If they are talking about it in the open, then they've been doing it for years. And then and I definitely didn't know about the humanoid robots and AI, and that definitely dealing with thoughts and how it can manipulate your thoughts. And then also getting back to so many being in what they would call debt, when it's obvious that a government put that which is on this landmass in vulnerable in a vulnerable situation to be in reference to I want to say against what's the word? Hold on. So in the preamble, I'm going to use this thought. In the preamble, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice is spoken in the Constitution of 1787. Morris has pointed this out. And so the well-being of the citizens supposed to be, when you're naturalized, supposed to be upheld. The well-being, to have peace and live your life, liberty. So it's obvious that a government deliberately did this. A government which that I think it's not just the United States. I think the United States is in separate sections. Okay, because you have natural law, the U.S.A. natural law, but then you also have the United States, you got the United States Corporation. So a government here deliberately did this because they were deliberately on a spiritual level. Now I'm speaking spiritually, implementing blood sacrifice, dealing connecting and doing deals with some very unclean, unnatural spirits that led up to gene manipulation, led up to those that can control your thoughts. Which, if you can control a being's thoughts, then you can control their behavior, especially if they didn't know. So if you don't know your thoughts are being manipulated, whether it's your subconscious, especially if you're sleeping, whatever, and you have no idea. So you're walking around, you just being fed on it, but you're among spirits that do know, and they are planting thoughts, whether it's dealing with finance, overly spend, sex, definitely sex, lots of sex, fear, or even thoughts of happiness, thoughts of joy, energies of joy, and you don't know what is real and what's not. You thinking what you're experiencing is in truth, but it's not. And they've been doing it for years and years and years and years and years and years. And now here we are in 2023, where you have masses of people on this landmass who are unhealthy. A lot of them are they're in debt to hospitals, medical debt. They unhealthy. They experiencing much dis-ease, not knowing, now once again, not knowing on a spiritual level that we are among unclean spirits that can cause you to have problems with your health. So that the corrupt hospitals, the pharmaceutical companies, which is and the banks, which is connected to the oil, Islam, which is connected to the oil, can make money. And so you have, so what then you have those on this landmass who will literally pretend to act like they know what they're doing, but they or know that they are not a part of it, but literally a part of it, because their thoughts are gone. They're something else. Their thoughts are being controlled. They're getting wave signals from different towers, not knowing the science. If you don't know the science that is being contributed to why you have so many behaving the way they do. It is really, anyway, Allah is great. So what I'm getting at is saying I didn't know. I had no idea about these countries coming together, these countries, to back their currency with gold. When I put on my Twitter page, China, Russia, the United States, and African America, I had no idea. Yes, I thought about in the past buying gold. I recently thought, I was actually thinking about gold recently, but I truly had no idea.